I'd like to start by saying thank you. A few weeks ago I said I'm trying to get over 300,000 subscribers, and I finally did. Although I want to tell you this. Remember, I've been doing this for 16 years, so even though I have 300,000 subscribers, I'm not getting the views. You know, I get an average of 5,000 or 6,000 views per video, so I'm very serious when I say that the first 100,000 that I got are probably in the cemetery because my audience is very old. So really subscribers apparently mean nothing. The only thing that matters is the views, and I'm not getting them, so I'm a little down about that. But I'm glad to get 300,000 subscribers, and I'm not criticizing you people in any way, and I thank you for getting me there. Now a little update here. You remember that recently I did a video on the iconic red covered bridge that had been severely damaged by a truck driver? So here's the update. I hope you watched that video. And here's what I don't understand. I got well over 100,000 views on that. I normally get like 5,000 views. So I really need to spread my horizon here as to what I am doing, because apparently people don't want to see anything in the shop anymore, but they do like some of my other adventures such as that. But there's an article in the newspaper the other day, the local paper here, in regards to that. Now, it's a long article, but I'm going to flash it in front of the screen, but you certainly aren't going to be able to read it, and the photo is terrible. Yeah, there's 102,000 views, and that's the title block if you want to see it. And there is the bridge itself. And I found out that there really isn't much damage to the heavy timbers, the structure. It's all about the house built on top of the bridge. And you know, some people still don't know the purpose of a covered bridge. Well, they were covering and protecting the timbers. They're not trying to keep you from getting wet while you're crossing the bridge. And I'm surprised at how many people did not know that. You might find it interesting that a man from IDOT made a comment, and he said he was on the scene within 15 or 20 minutes after the accident, so I was glad to hear from him. But they're talking about a repair here that's going to take 2 or 3 years. Now, you know how the government is. The first thing they're going to do is a study. Then they will apply for the 100 permits that are necessary, then set up a perimeter fence, and then a silk filter and all of that other nonsense that costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. But here is what I find ironic. The largest building in the world at that time, in 1941 or 42, they built the Pentagon, and it was the largest building, as I said, in terms of floor space, not height. And that entire building was built within 1 year during the war, when there was a tremendous shortage of manpower and materials. And it was General Groves that got it done. In fact, he was so good that they took him off that job and put him onto the Manhattan Project, and I'm sure you know that. But why should a relatively simple repair job like this, all they got to do is hire a crew, and many people have suggested this, a crew of Amish carpenters, and give them 3 weeks and an unlimited budget, and it'll be back to perfection. All right, enough on that, and I will update you on this from time to time, because a lot of people are interested in that, I believe. As you know, I've made videos on the Procunier tapping attachment, but just 2 weeks ago I got a call from Matt over at Lost Creek Machine, and he said he noticed I only had 1 collet, and he was quite correct. So he said, come on over, and I did, and he dug out 3 other collets, and these are kind of expensive if you had to buy them, so thank you, Matt, for that. So now I'm equipped for the smaller sizes. They made this in many sizes, I think 3 or 4 sizes. This is the smallest one, and it only goes up to 1/4 20. But while I was there, I discovered that he had a tapping machine there. Well, let me show you a picture of it. So while I was at the shop over there in Ottawa, Lost Creek Machine, there it is, and I said, Matt, can I borrow this? I'd like to make a video. And he said, sure. So I've got it here right behind me, and I've already made at least one video, and there'll be several on that, so make sure you watch them. Okay, this is the title if you want to watch the video on the Rickard Schaefer tapping machine. And here is the tapping machine itself, still in my basement, and I have to take it back next week. So, enjoy. By the way, when I was over at Lost Creek, Matt gave me this 1/2 inch starrett micrometer, and it may look like a regular micrometer, but compare it with a regular 1 inch. This is a 0 to 1/2 inch. You'll see me using that in future videos with the Unimat lathe, I hope. As you know, this is one of the Peterson Products projects. The band sander uses a 1x42 inch belt, and this one, I guess I got it at an auction, I kind of forgot. It's not all here, but this is the general idea, and we sold the patterns for this, not the castings. But recently in town here, there was a big auction at a former student's machine shop. He sold out, but I took some pictures, and I'm going to show them to you right now, but there were 2 of these band sanders at the auction, just sitting there. They hadn't been used, I suppose, in years, but Bill, the man who owned the shop, did make one when under my tutelage 45 years ago, and they were sold along with all of the other machinery and equipment. Let's take a look at the pictures. Okay, here's some photos at the auction. I didn't go to the auction because it was an online auction, but I went over there to talk to my buddy and take some pictures. So there's one of the band sanders. They're filthy dirty because they've been just sitting there for years and years and years. So there were 2 different ones, and that's what they looked like when they came out of my shop, mounted on a board with a motor. I wouldn't let them take it home unless it was fully finished, because they were never going to finish it at home. And here is a clip. Many years ago when I was teaching at the high school, we used a big milling machine called a Greaves, a horizontal, and there is a picture of it. In 1988, as I told you many times, they sold out the machine shop from under me, and Bill bought this, but I don't think they ever used it. So here are several pictures of it here, just 2 miles from my house. It was a Greaves. It was a great machine. I think later on bought out by Cincinnati, but it was a heartbreaker. This machine sold for $25 for scrap. So it's gone. You will never see it again. Even the, as you can see on the end there, there's a dividing head. I remember using that, and we used this mill. Well, we used it on this band sander, and we cut a lot of gears and racks and things like that on. It was a wonderful machine. Now it's been melted down and turned into soup cans. Recently I was in an antique shop and I took a picture of this beautiful woodworking bench, and there were a bunch of antique tools on it as well. So I thought that was interesting. I don't remember what the price was. I think it was like 800 bucks for the bench. Now, anecdote number 6 was a total failure, so you probably haven't watched it, but if you did, you might remember me coming down Brewery Hill. It's an incredibly steep hill in my old hometown, and since that time I was able to find some archival pictures of the brewery, so let's take a look at those. Okay, this is looking up the hill from the river, and this is the Star Union Brewery. You might have seen the bottling house in my video. There it is, and here's the train track. That was the Rock Island line. You know, it was a mighty good line. So we used to go and get ice right here. There was an ice house, and this was the brewery, and this stone building, it's gone too. It was like the aging house. It was a beautiful old building made of quarried limestone. I think I got another picture of it here. Yeah, there it is, and you can tell this picture is probably from the 30s. There was a bridge going across here, but when I was a kid, a ready-mix truck came down the hill and lost his brake, and rather than go into the river, he went off the road and into this building, and there was a huge hole on the side, and you could see how thick the stone was. Well, I know that's irrelevant, but it was interesting to me. And my neighbor owned this brewery. Went out of business in the 60s, like all other small breweries in the entire country. Recently, I was at the Chicago Auto Show at McCormick Place, and I took some pictures of a cutaway of a Duramax diesel. There's the turbo. As you know, I have a love affair with these old drill indexes or drill stands. This is Standard Tools, but A-Bomb loves these even more than I do. They're die cast out of zinc. I don't want to dump it over. And this set is for number drills. But while in a antique store 2 weeks ago, I ran into a really neat one, but it was $40. I couldn't afford it, but I want to show you a little clip of that. Okay, here it is. I'm trying to show the different sides of it. It's a Greenfield tap and die. It's such a neat shape, and it was in perfect condition. Even came with a few drill bits, but of course it was $40, and it was for number drills. If it was fractional, I would have gone home and see if I had enough money to buy it. A-Bomb would love this. Maybe he has it already. Let me show you a couple of viewer appreciation gifts that came in recently. I'm not going to cover them all. That'll be in the next. This video is already too long. But someone, and it's anonymous, sent me 10 little T-nuts for the Unimat. Thank you for that. Now, I do not know who sent these to me. Someone might have told me something in a comment, but if you tell me something in a comment, it's lost. I can't really find them. And this was apparently drop shipped. So please tell me or get things marked when you sent them to me so I can give you the proper thanks. But whoever did, thank you. Thank you, Ed Lucas, for sending me a package of goodies. So between the cardboard and these plates of aluminum, he had placed some extremely strong magnets trying to separate them so it would not cause trouble in the postal system. They already got enough trouble, you know. So there we got some strong magnets, and you know, he knows that I've got a Norwegian heritage, so there we go. And, oh, here's a piece of plastic of some kind that he sent, real lightweight. I'm not sure what it is. But look at all of the drill bits and tiny reamers that he sent me. Just a whole bunch of them. So those will find good use. I have to find a good way to organize them. So hello to all you Norwegians out there, and leave a comment so I know if anyone from the great country of Norway, which they say is one of the best countries in the world as far as the democracy and all of that. But he also sent this neat little ratchet wrench, which is, what's the brand on it? Lang, made in USA. Thanks, Ed. Now, if you sent me something that I haven't shown yet, it's either because it wasn't marked or I don't have time, so I'll include that in the next this and that. I was at Harbor Freight recently, and I think many of you have seen these toolboxes before, and I know they're made in China, and they're very weak. This one's all cracked. and damaged. And matter of fact, they had it locked up. I said to the guy, "Can I look at this?" And he said, "We got it locked up because it's falling apart." But still, it's $95, and it was broken by customers who would open it up and let the drawers fall out and things like that. But actually, it is an amazing buy when you think about it. Whereas the Gerstner is going to cost you well over $1,000, maybe $1,500. And I know it's made out of junk wood. It's not oak, it's not walnut or anything good like that. It's some kind of tropical wood, but some of you might find a use for it at that price. Okay, I've got a question for you, and leave me a comment if you know the answer. But here is something that has troubled me, or I've thought about for many years, and I'm 80 years old. No one ever officially told me to do this, but I have observed men sometimes, when they're tightening a workpiece in a 3-jaw chuck, they tighten it as tight as they can, they rotate it, put the chuck key in and tighten that, rotate it again, and so on. Why do they do that? Does it help? Is it any tighter? Is the work any tighter doing that than if I just tightened it with one chuck key hole? Because in most of my smaller chucks, they in fact only have one hole for the chuck key. So let me know what you think. I've never read anything about this in a book or from anybody official. It was only people that and I see a lot of people on YouTube doing that. My personal thought is it doesn't help at all, but I don't know everything. I've also seen people with a drill chuck tighten ever so tightly in one and then move it to the next one and so on. Same thing as this. What are your thoughts? Put it in the comments. Thank you. And I want people to answer this that can give me a factual reason, not just something you heard from your Uncle Ted. Well, I covered a lot of ground in this video. I hope it wasn't too boring. Be sure and subscribe, because I believe that some of you are being unsubscribed without you even knowing that. So double check that you are subscribed, because people are not getting notifications. So ring that bell, even though it doesn't work. So there's a few still pictures coming up and lots of videos in the can, about 20. So keep watching and do a search every week for mrpete or tubalcain, because you will not be, most of you will not be notified by the evil Google analytics. So long for now. I hope I didn't rant too much. At the age of 9, Henry still likes to cuddle with Grandpa, and I'm so glad of it.